Ha 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 ha! Suck it! Okay. Well, that clears things up nicely. I'm not evil. You're evil.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am the Story-Driven Gamer, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are hopping back into the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. In the last episode, we managed to deduce who the actual Reaper of the Bailey was, and it was our man Strongheart, as I heavily suspected. But, as you can imagine, being the judge, he tried to get out of it. You know, he tried to pull the card that, you know, this is Gregson's trial, and we already deduced that Jigoku was the one who killed Gregson. So, this trial is over, but Sholmes came in at the last minute and convinced the judiciary, you know, in the audience to get testimony from Mikotoba specifically, because we established that he's the only remaining living person who can speak about Clint's autopsy, which is going to be vital testimony that we need to pin Strongheart to the wall, I hope. So it's getting exciting. I think we're on the last part of the trial. It seems that way anyway. I'm thinking 2 more episodes, maybe 3 tops, depending how long this part is. And we might be done with the game. And then I'm going to do an episode or 2 dedicated to the escapades, which is like a little bonus shorts in the bonuses section. We'll get there when the time comes. So let's hop right back in. I'm so excited. Oh, Gueri's up there too. And there's Mikotoba. And Van Zyke. So they're all going to be on the witness stand. So, witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Yujin Mikotoba, lecturer in forensic medicine at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo, Japan. Why are you creepily staring at Mikotoba there, Maria? And Professor Mikotoba, the young lady beside you is? I don't know. I didn't invite her here. Oh, this is Dr. Maria Gueri. Scotland Yard's practicing coroner. The daughter of Dr. Scythe, I understand. Yes, Dr. Scythe. I'm afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just appeared, like a ghost. That's because I am a ghost, silly. Frankly, she's creeping me out. You summon the strange Japanese man as a witness to this autopsy. But you don't summon Mama? That makes no sense. She was there too. Yeah, I think we just deduced that she probably wouldn't talk. She wouldn't want to give Strongheart up. That's about the size of it. George, can you take those knives away from her? I've had your eyes boring into the side of my cheek constantly, whilst I was in the antechamber too. Poor man. The idea of it's making me shudder. Thank God I'm over here. The revelations about Dr. Scythe that came to light some days ago defied the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore deemed unfit to appear as a witness in today's proceedings. The Ministry of Justice's decision on that is final. Well, we wouldn't want any perjury to be committed, would we? What are you trying to say? The Ministry of Justice? Some questionable strings are being pulled, I think. I remember you, Dr. Mikotoba. But I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances. Yes, it's been a long while, Lord Strongheart. Oh, music's ramping up. The prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London until 10 years ago. That's right. I studied under Dr. Wilson at St. Sinners. So you were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Clint Van Zykes. I was, yes. I assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure. Mama did too. Tch, Mama is far more skilled than any Japanese man. Well, I see this country is full of racists. Dr. Wilson asked me to be his primary assistant in that occasion. And this autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe. Yes, I noted all of the doctor's findings, and when we were done, he read through the document and signed it. Poor Mama. As secondary assistant, she wouldn't have had such a good view of all the innards. Oh, poor thing. So, Professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson? Yes, of course. If it wasn't for his insistence, Lord Van Zykes' autopsy would never have happened. But he was absolutely convinced that it would reveal decisive evidence against Genshin, you see? So Lord Strong-Eyed had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord. It was as a result of that autopsy that a mass murderer was apprehended and justice was done. And no funny business was done whatsoever. But Gregson admitted it before he was killed. He admitted that the results of the autopsy were fabricated. You were there at the time, so you must testify. You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really went on. Absolutely. That's precisely why I'm here. And that's why I'm here too. Thank you both.
Very well then. You will give your formal testimony now, witness. Says. But before you begin, a word of warning.
Oh?
You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw and what you heard at the time. This is not a threat, by any means.
I wouldn't dream of doing otherwise, my lord.
The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. In other words, if you say anything that convicts me, remember that.
Whatever. Let's see what he has to say. Witness testimony. The autopsy of Clint Van Zykes. From my own observations, I couldn't say there was any indication of the autopsy results having been fabricated. Death resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword transfixing the heart. That I found a little strange. There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach. What? Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim, as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. Huh. That's the first I'm hearing about that. No indication, nothing to suggest fabrication. President Mikitova, are you certain about that? Well, nothing that I could positively identify as such. Much less swear to in testimony. That's not good.
Ah! Ha 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 ha! Suck it! Okay. Well, that clears things up nicely. I'm not evil. You're evil. The only fabrication here, Asagi, has come from you.
What?
You claim the inspector confessed. You claim the inspector confessed just before his death, but that is the fabrication.
No, he freely acknowledged it. I swear he did.
Freely? With the tip of a sword at his throat? The man was clearly at his wit's end. The court will give no credence to this confession that was uttered in obvious desperation. Quite simply, there was nothing questionable about the investigation of Lord Clint Van Zykes' death. And with this testimony, we have, without question, uncovered the whole truth of the matter.
Corey's still staring at him. If I may, my lord. There was most certainly something questionable about it. And the whole truth does rather elude us, I feel.
I beg your pardon?
Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of the case. All four of the professor's previous victims died when an enormous beast was set upon them that ripped out their throats. What? Oh, such horrifying crimes. But curiously, the killer's last victim, Lord Clint Van Zykes, suffered a different fate. A sword. Yes, you're right. I kind of forgot about that. Did they mention the dog thing? He was stabbed through the heart with a sword.
That's enough. I believe I warned you about this, witness. I promise to curtail your testimony as soon as it entered the realms of superstition, or supposition, or speculation.
Very well, my lord. I still have the right to cross-examine. In that case, the defense will pursue a conclusion to this during the cross-examination.
What?
I have the right to cross-examine every witness after testimony. Them's the rules. And I fully intend to exercise that right. Ryunosuke. I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene the letter of the law, as I'm sure every member of the judiciary present in the gallery would agree. See, that's them saying, "You suck, Strongheart."
Very well, you may begin, counsel. However, the moment your argument strays from the established facts, I will not hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution.
Yes, my lord. You gots it. Cross-examination. The autopsy of Clint Van Zyx. Okay. So the first thing I want to press on is the thing about the evidence that was found in his stomach. Death resulted from a wound made by Western-style sword. Okay. No other signs of internal injury. Yeah, this part. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach. What exactly was it, though? What does beautiful but dangerous mean? Well, it was sparkly and round with a hole, as if it might slip over a finger, perhaps. A ring?
It was a ring belonging to Genshin Asagi.
My father's ring was inside the victim's stomach.
At the time, Genshin wore a large ring on the digitus quartus of his left hand, the fourth or ring finger. I'd understood it was some sort of keepsake.
When my father left Japan for London 16 years ago, I was 8 years old. But I remember that ring.
You do?
My father's possessions were sent to our family home in Japan after his death, but the ring wasn't among them.
Obviously not. It was a key piece of evidence. It remains under lock and key in the stores at Scotland Yard to this day.
After the autopsy, Genshin was summoned by the police to check for the presence of this ring. It wasn't on his hand, of course. Moreover, there were deep abrasions on his finger where it had been pulled off. Did he, like, bite his finger? They arrested the man there and then, right before my eyes. How could they? I brought the ring along with me today. Give it here. What? Ooh, that's a cool looking ring. Here it is, a bit dusty from years in the stores.
Good gracious, yes, that's it. I haven't seen that in 10 long years.
And that was found inside the victim's stomach. So Genshin's ring wound up in Clint's stomach. Yes, I'm afraid so. You hesitated there, Professor Mikotoba. Should we read something into that?
Well,
it's just that thinking back now, I didn't actually witness the moment it was extracted from the victim's body. Oh my! Really? At that precise moment, Dr. Wilson had asked me to fetch him a new scalpel, you see? Oh, Dr. Wilson sent him away.
Dr. Gory, the removal of this historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not?
I don't care. I will slice you open. However it came to be here, the court cannot deny that this is crucial evidence for today's proceedings.
Very well, you may submit it, but I'm not happy about it.
Okay. We're definitely going to examine that. A ring belonging to Genshin Asagi found in Lord Clint Van Zyx's stomach during the autopsy. The claws clasping the gem look sharp enough to cause a very nasty scratch. A scratch. It's not the sort of ring normally seen in Japan. They almost look like claws protecting that jewel. We must examine it very carefully, Mr. Naruhodo. Very carefully indeed. Let's do it right now before I forget. I'm gonna press that too, but let's see. Here's the gem. It looks fancy. These fat claws are doing a good job of protecting the equally fat gemstone in the middle of this ring. Yes, if you were clumsy, you could give yourself a rather nasty cut on them, I should think. Ow! Like that. Now my finger's bleeding. The claws really are sharp. Oh my. That was very quick clumsiness, Mr. Naruhodo. Even for you. I have no words. Ugh. Who would make such a dangerous ring? You couldn't swallow it without doing yourself some fairly serious damage, surely. A sticky mochi bun of about that size will go down much better. With some red bean paste in the middle, now I'm hungry. Someone as clumsy as me would probably manage to choke on it somehow. I don't doubt it. Okay, so they're implying that, yeah, it's sharp, and yeah, you couldn't swallow this without doing some internal damage. Or maybe damage on the inside of the mouth. I don't think there's anything else that I can see. So let me see the autopsy report one more time. Single stab wound to the heart. Other superficial external wounds indicative of a duel. Was he like scratched with the ring? Or punched in the face? I still don't know how it would have gotten inside the victim. Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring fingers of the right hand. Ink stains, but no document and corresponding ink was found. So this is on Clint. Okay. Why would there be ink on the ring finger? Was he wearing the ring? I don't know. I don't know how ink would have gotten on it though. Oh, it says right here, vital evidence recovered from the victim's stomach during autopsy. Credit to Inspector Gregson for petitioning so doggedly for the autopsy procedure. Oh, no internal trauma noted anywhere in the body. But we're saying that there should have been. I don't know if we can present that to anything yet, anyway. Okay, let's keep pressing. Let's press this. Keep talking about the ring. And that was the decisive piece of evidence that led to Genshin Asagi's arrest? Correct. After further investigation by Scotland Yard, the man admitted to his crimes. That's a lie. My father is no killer. Vadok von Zykes, it was you. You twisted the truth to suit your purposes. Still accusing him? Your hatred of me doesn't change the facts that were established 10 years ago. My brother Clint had closed in on the professor. In the end, he exposed the man and put a stop to his lethal rampage. In the way only a man of my brother's caliber could. They really hate each other. Or I should say Kazuma hates him. That's everything. Is it? Poor father. He looks so troubled. Perhaps because 10 years ago, something happened that's been weighing on his mind. Oh. I couldn't say were his words. That phrasing was very deliberate, I'm sure. I wonder if he's had his suspicions all these years. If that's the case, we need to use this cross-examination to prove what really happened. And remove any trace of doubt. If you could establish that Kazuma-sama's claim of fabricated evidence was true, we can't shy away from this now. Even if what we might uncover could lead to total calamity. Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll be right beside you, whatever may happen. Okay. Oh yes, you said right here there were no other signs of internal injury. Let's press that, because there should be with the ring. But, you weren't actually present at the autopsy yourself, were you, Dr. Gory? Does that matter? Well, I just wonder how useful your testimony can be in that case, really. Why are you here? I mean, it would be different if your mother, Dr. Scythe, were in the stand, but... I read all the paperwork about the case, and Mom has told me the story countless times. The statement I just made is exactly what's written in the autopsy report. Duly noted. I did confirm that myself at the time it's true. Besides, the stab wound there were no other signs of internal trauma. I see. Mama told me all about it. Oh? She said there was nothing of note internally. But they did find an amazing piece of evidence. Something unbelievable. Unbelievable? What do you mean? Come on, Dr. Gory. What was it? I'm not telling. Okay, we already went through this, but... Okay, let's just press these 2 points. You couldn't say? No, sadly not. But then you couldn't say there wasn't any indication either, could you? No, true. I couldn't. I was at Dr. Wilson's side as he performed the procedure, recording what he did. But at times, of course, he instructed me to fetch implements and such like. Whilst I was away from the operating table, obviously I could have missed something. And at those times, what was the secondary assistant doing? Following the Japanese man's orders to adjust the lighting or pass some implements, of course. But that doesn't mean Mama wasn't a vital part of the team. Quite, yes. So would you kindly refrain from staring at my cheek like that? Can I bite you? Vasimikatoba, think. Was there nothing at all that seemed out of place to you? Well, yes. There was, as a matter of fact. Okay, he said he found this a little strange. In all the previous 4 killings attributed to the professor, the victims were killed by an enormous dog, I believe. Their throats were, well, mauled? That's one way to put it. Correct. And yet Lord Van Zykes was stabbed. Do you mean to say... You think Lord Clint Van Zykes may not in fact have been one of the professor's victims? There is no basis on which to doubt the findings of the investigations carried out at the time. But Genshin Asagi confessed to all his crimes upon his arrest. He admitted to having taken the lives of all 5 members of the aristocracy. Yet the beast that was used to carry out the killings was never identified. No evidence was found to suggest that Genshin had ever kept a dog. A true hound of hell. A hellhound. Okay. The only thing I can think of is this. I mean, it doesn't contradict what we saw in the autopsy report, but if we present the ring here, then I mean, we're implying that there should have been some internal injury because it's such a short ring, if it was inside him. Right? I'm gonna give it a go there. I'm gonna try presenting the ring. Objection. There we go. Slam! The court has heard that the ring was extracted from the victim's stomach. But you didn't actually see it being removed. Did you, Professor Mikitoba? That's right. As I said in my testimony before. At the moment, I was fetching a replacement scalpel that Dr. Wilson had requested. In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring, in fact, really came from the victim's stomach or not. What are you suggesting, counsel? Oh, is he suggesting that it was planted there? Like maybe Dr. Scythe planted it in there. That the ring was never in the victim's stomach to begin with. It's entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated that detail about the autopsy. What are you saying? That Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance, after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Asagi. And he produced it during the procedure, pretending to have found it there and then in the victim's stomach.
Objection!
Supposition at best. What possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim? This evidence, right here. That's the autopsy report. It's explicit in that report, counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual is noted internally, so I'm not sure you intend to prove your point. You've already done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injury says it all. Yes, we investigated that ring thoroughly. What? To swallow a ring of this size would require considerable effort and determination. And in addition to its size, there were the sharp claws around the gemstone to contend with. My brother was a determined man, and on the brink of death even more so, I'm sure. Why would he do that, though? He would have stopped at nothing to ensure that evil killer was brought to justice. How would eating a ring have done that? But if he really had swallowed that enormous ring, it's inconceivable that no traces of its passage down its throat would have remained as internal trauma. No. Yes. See what I'm saying, Mikotoba? You with me? And there you've arrived at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the findings myself 10 years ago. Then why didn't you say something at the time? I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day. Wilson, okay, what does he sound like? Look at this! Now, this is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say? But, isn't that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson? What's that now, Mikotoba? Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size, with those sharp metal claws that it has, surely you'd expect to see damage to the throat and esophagus. Torn mucous membranes at the very least. I'm gonna ignore that. Dr. Mikotoba, may I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you. I'm terribly sorry. I can think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would be seen. No, let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Go ahead, write it down. You monkey. So I was right. Dr. Wilson deliberately fabricated the result of the autopsy to implicate my father. Dang. I'm disappointed, Counsel. That argument is nothing more than speculation. What? Dr. Wilson was Britain's leading authority on forensic science and autopsy work. There is no scientific basis on which to doubt the man's expert opinion. Pardon the interruption, my lord, but damage to the mucous membranes of the throat is easily identified even in living subjects. Using a device called an endoscope, recently demonstrated in practical use in France. I want one. The government can pay. Just give me one. I don't think so. And Dr. Gory, rest assured that your removal of evidence from the storage without permission will not go unpunished. Then I will be visiting you in the dead of night. We open up the den. We open up the dead to find the truth. I beg your pardon? Tell him. But Mama, she chose to stitch your corpses up with all her secrets inside. That's wrong. What you say, bitch? Dr. Guerry, it's looking as though she's chosen to walk a different path to her Mama. Yay! Carve your own path. I'm all for it. Excuse me? Yes, the ring. What about the ring? I've just remembered something. An earlier incident. Do tell, what incident? The one I recounted to you before, about a memory I have of Genshin Asagi saving my life. What? My father saved your life? Yes, I remember this. It was also accompanied with cool artwork. It was 10 years ago on a foggy night. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. All of a sudden... Don't make a peep. You're coming with us. Those are the thugs trying to harm them. Well, I think they were coming after Van Zykes himself, right? All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Shots fired, literally. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me. Okay, where does the ring come into play? It was on the ring finger of his left hand that he used to wear that ring. Are you saying? I've always believed those thugs were after me. But now I'm starting to question if perhaps I wasn't the intended target after all. Wait, but they were coming after Genshin? Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack. And in that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found. You mean the ring was stolen from him? You think that's what those thugs were after that night? Oh, so that they could
Objection.
so that they could plant it later. Well, that's scummy. You pathetic coward. Tell him. You expect me to believe that you weren't involved? What do you mean by that? You mean because he was there, you think that he could have taken the ring? It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it. You stole my father's ring. Not this again. You set the whole thing up so you could paint him as a mass murderer and have him arrested. Why, though? Kazuma, shut up. Open your eyes. Ryunosuke, you must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscured even when your judgment is only slightly clouded. But at the moment, you seem to be floundering through a dense fog. Is that why you're so insistent I should be present in this trial? To see you like this? That's not the Kazuma I know. Not that I personally know him well, but Ryunosuke does. Evil laugh. Well, this is an amusing spectacle. What a grandiose expression on your face. As if you were Lady Justice herself. It seems you've thoroughly convinced yourself of this alleged fabrication of the autopsy results. So much so that you're apparently blind to the blatant contradiction that would be born of it. What? Though it's extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asagi not have disputed the findings in his trial? Oh. In the closed court hearing 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zykes? Yes, that is indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilty, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment. The actions of a man who has accepted responsibility for his deeds and is resigned to his fate. And we saw that the will said as much. But then... Oh my. That is very strange. If Mr. Oski did nothing to oppose the charges against him, then... that would surely mean there was no fabricated evidence. An obvious conclusion at which you should have arrived many minutes ago. Prosecutor Asagi, your twisted loyalty and clouded judgment are hampering your ability for logical thought. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to his lies. Genshin Oski's silence at his hearing can mean only one thing, that he's guilty. There is no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim 10 years ago. Arrgh! I'm a pirate. Well, this isn't looking good. But if that autopsy was all above board, there'll be nothing to stop Lord Strongheart bringing this trial to an immediate conclusion.
Objection.
That our boy Kazuma? Ooh. I got chills at that. Thank you, Inosuke. If it wasn't for your frank words just now, this trial may very well have ended prematurely. Kazuma? You're welcome, buddy. What's this latest absurdity, Counsel? My lord, your reasoning is perfectly sound. But for one giant hole... I beg your pardon? You claim my father's silence was due to the fact that there was no fabricated evidence. But there's another possible explanation. You've overlooked the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that silence.
Objection.
Silence that would lead to him being convicted and sent to his death. If the autopsy results were an invention... Oh, look at that. He's doing the pointing finger, but from the front. There's no conceivable reason why the man would have protested.
Objection.
Oh, those results were an invention, all right? There's no question of that. Or are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to that autopsy have been assassinated? Indeed. If I force the grievances I feel from my mind, I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you, who's been living in delusion these 10 years. Me? Cosmo-sama has created one last chance for us here, Mr. Naruhodo. If we can only show there was a reason for his father's silence in his trial. A reason why the man would have said nothing even though he was innocent. Could it have been part of some negotiation, perhaps? Enough rhetoric! The court must have shown evidence. Must be shown evidence! What proof do you have that could possibly explain Asuki's silence in court? I mean, we have the will. I'm just kind of going through everything quickly to see if there's anything that would stand out. I'll use this now. Oh yeah, I think we might be using this again at some point. Because Sholmes brought it up and said, remember to use this. Remember you have it. Yeah, we have the will. Any material and possessions and wealth be delivered to Kazuma. He accepts his fate in this foreign land, and although I'll never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. I could try that. I don't think any of this would have anything to do with it. Oh! There we go. It's believed that the convict engaged in some sort of negotiation with prison staff in order to secure assistance. The only reason I think it's this now is because Ryunosuke flat out used the word negotiation. Like, was there some negotiation? I'm thinking I'm not 100% sure the specifics, but that would explain it. I'll try this first, and if not, then the will. Right? It was saying, yeah, the convict, which would be, what's his face? Would be, Atsugi. Genshin. Let's try it.
Take that!
It's true that Genshin Atsugi's silence during his trial resulted in his conviction. But that didn't actually lead to his execution. On the contrary. It led to his escape. An escape that was only possible because he'd been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated in that way, the defense is correct. A fake execution, falsification of a death certificate, and a jailbreak inside a coffin. Clearly, such an elaborate plan couldn't have been carried out by my father alone. Indeed, he must have had the help of a collaborator from the judiciary. Mr. Vigil, I have here the dismissal notice of the chief warder who was working in the prison at the time. The notes read, there were indications that the jailbreak was in planning prior to the inmate's incarceration. In other words, slam that desk. There were suggestions of some sort of negotiation between Mr. Atsugi and the British government. Oh crap. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he would be broken out of prison. Yes, with that sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he would have kept very quiet. I will go further than that, in fact. I would say that the elaborate jailbreak of Mr. Atsugi can be explained in no other way. It's all coming together. Order! Order! First fabricated evidence and now a jailbreak conspiracy? It's not a conspiracy, of course. Because it's all intimately linked. Like everything in this game. The prosecution wishes to summon new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses? Vigil? People who can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Ah! Governor Kaden? And the poor chief warder of the prison? No! I won't allow this trial to turn into a farce. To summon the governor of the prison after all these years? Oh, it wouldn't be any trouble, my lord. What? Father? My dear friend may appear a little rattle-pated, whatever that means at times, but I can assure you he's extremely thorough. He wired both Barclay and the local prison earlier. asking Governor Caden and Mr. Vigil to attend the Old Bailey as a matter of extreme urgency. Mr. Sholmes did that? He's really pulling through for once.
Are you telling me that?
Both men are, unless I'm much mistaken. Waiting just outside the courtroom at this very moment. Oh yeah. Keep things moving. My lord, you must permit this trial to proceed as you declared at its outset. You promised that we would stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings.
Well, I changed my mind. Very well. Bring in the witnesses. God damn it, I hate you all. Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all. I totally mean that.
Here we go. So much happening. So many witnesses. There he is. Yeah, I get to do his lovely accent again. Would the new witnesses state their name and occupation for the court, please?
Aye, Barry Caden, Governor of Barclay Prison.
Oh, he's doing it. Everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits. Your other persona, if you don't mind. Oh, right. Oh, I do beg your pardon. Of course. Let me just get into depression mode. My name is Daily Vigil. I used to be the chief warder at Barclay Prison. The reason you've been summoned here to court today is to testify about the jailbreak of the so-called professor 10 years ago.
Losh, the professor? We've already been through all this before a decade ago. And the conclusion was that there was not anything untoward happened.
That was a lie. A convict escaped from your prison, Governor. Hardly what you call nothing untoward.
Ah, well.
The convict's death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed. And he escaped the prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Caden, don't imagine that the passage of time will afford you any protection.
Crapsicles.
It turns out that you were involved in the plot to break Mr. Aski out of your prison. Then, of course, the consequences will be very serious. In all likelihood, a capital punishment.
Gads, hold on there, laddie. All I did was... Witness? Governor Caden? Huh? Aye, sir. You have a critical role to play in the public safety of our country. A great responsibility to shoulder. The significance of your testimony in court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. And Prosecutor Ostogi, if you threaten the witness again, you will be held in contempt of court.
Whatever you say, my lord. My apologies, my lord. There's no disputing the fact that an intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, you were both involved in some way. So you will testify before the court now and explain exactly what took place.
Do it. Very well. Let the witnesses give their formal testimony. Tell the court everything you know of the plot to break us Asagi out of Barclay 10 years ago.
See what they have to say. Say what you need to say. The jailbreak plot.
It was the day that Japanese jock was found guilty. The directive came from the prosecutor's office. I assigned a convict to the chief warder Vigil here, and put the plan into action behind the scenes.
I was responsible for Aski right up until the night of his execution, but I knew nothing of any plot.
I deny Ken if there was some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire.
Right. A directive from the prosecutor's office? Are you saying that was the jailbreak plot?
Aye, that's right.
Who sent it? Who authorized that plan?
Can't tell ya. I deny Ken that.
I don't know what that means. You're saying you don't know?
Listen, there was nothing about that professor case that was not unusual in some way. I don't know I asked any questions. I just did what I was told to do. More than that couldn't I tell you.
I see. If the jailbreak plan originated from the prosecutor's office, then one thing is very clear. As suspected, there were clandestine dealings going on between Mr. Asagi and that office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Mr. Asagi admitted to crimes he didn't commit.
That, counsel, is nothing more than speculation on your part. So let me ask the defense.
Oh, yes, my lord?
I fail to see how these witnesses have any more pertinent information here. Do you intend to assert your right to a cross-examination?
You bet your handcuff biscuits. Absolutely. I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity, my lord. You would like that, wouldn't you?
It seems all you Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Aha! Do what you will. Very well. Proceed, counsel.
No, I will proceed. The jailbreak plot. Okay, so it was the day that the Japanese jock was found guilty. The director came from the prosecutor's office. I definitely want to press him on that. Assign the convict to the chief ward of vigil here and put the plan to action behind the scenes. He was responsible for Asagi right up until the night of his execution, but he knew nothing of any plot. He didn't know if there was some negotiation between the convict and the prosecutor's office. Carried out your duty for Her Majesty Great British Empire. Let's press that first point. Nothing stands out at me right away. We have the will, but I don't think that has anything to do with the plot. Okay, let's just press.
Hold it!
And you say you don't know who actually issued the directive?
Hey, that's right. All I can be sure of is that it was official.
But if it was from the prosecutor's office, that narrows down who could have issued it straight away. And it wasn't to me.
I cannot even say with certainty that it did originate from the prosecutor's office.
What?
There's no telling where it started. There's a fair chance it came from high up the ladder. Basically, I cannot give you any identification of who is behind it.
You can't be serious. All we can say for sure is that the order must have come from somebody in authority, I suppose.
The likes of us on the ground, as it were. Do not bother with idle speculation. We just get the job done.
I want to press this point about the negotiations. We've already acknowledged that orders came from the prosecutor's office to arrange for the man's escape. There must have been some sort of negotiation. It's the only explanation.
Aye, well, be that as it may, I do not care nothing about that. The witness stand is no place for telling what you don't know for sure. I can that much to do.
Then I presume you also know this. Not telling what you do know is a criminal offense.
I know that.
You were just following orders, is that it? I'm afraid I want to absolve you of guilt here. A man was still killed illegally, even if he was a condemned criminal. You may very well be found complicit in murder, Governor.
About that.
So that's what it has to be, is it? Even with the threat of conviction, you won't break your silence. Gotta get to him somehow.
Hold it!
Did you carry out the plan in its entirety?
Aye, I did everything I could at the time.
As you know, Genshin Asagi was shot dead in Nogate Cemetery after the escape. Tell me, was that part of the plan too?
My instructions were to do it, getting the jack out of jail and nothing more.
Or the jock?
I cannot tell you anything about what happened after that, only. Personally, I believe that was the last part of the plan.
Oh, what do we have here?
Excuse me.
Spill it. Mr. Vigil, is something wrong? No, I just have a headache. A really bad one. Can I go? Ugh. Yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir? Like he was going in and out of the different personalities or whatever. He's saluting now? What is it? Some sort of Barclay convention? What a bunch of characters. What Governor Kaidan was just saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps? Was he not doing his job? For the last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors in the name of my country. No, still speechless. Just as my father was betrayed, it seems. But you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Asagi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan. What makes you think that? Well, it just doesn't make sense, does it? To make the man admit the crimes he didn't commit with the promise of a jailbreak, only to kill him in the end? That's treachery of the worst kind. But the point is, if the intention was always to betray him, why would there be any need for all the, chicaneries of an escape? Yeah, that's what I don't get either. Yes, that's quite true. If whoever negotiated with Asagi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain, it would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison as dictated by his sentence. It all happened in the vast Chamber of Secrets that is Barclay, behind the high prison walls. Chamber of Secrets? Was there a basilisk in there? I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, it's an unsettling mystery, certainly. What are you hiding, Kaidan? Speak up. Truth be told, there was a wee matter that's never quite made sense to me. What is it? If you believe there was some kind of negotiation behind the jailbreak between Asagi and a body at the top, it does not quite add up, does it? Governor Kaidan, I must insist that you explain these doubts that you have by amending your formal testimony. Gads! Aye, go on then. Oh, Strongheart's not happy. What does he have to say? It seems to me that the Japanese fella did not have nothing to bargain with. He had the will, though, right? Maybe that's why he wrote this, so that if, Is that what they're getting at? I could try it. Because we know that was his trump card. That makes sense, right? Let me try, I'm gonna press it first, and then I'll,
Hold it!
and then I'll try presenting it. Admitting to the crimes, that was what he had to bargain with, surely. How can I see that myself? After all, did the prosecution not have conclusive evidence against the Carly, eh? This, you mean, discovered during the final victim's autopsy. There's every possibility this conclusive evidence was fabricated by Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office.
Objection!
Possibilities are all very well, but nothing has been proven. You can holler about misconduct in the trial 10 years ago all you like. But if you can't establish that it happened, with hard evidence, no one's going to listen. Aye, that's right. So what I'm saying is, the convict had nothing he could use for any kind of bargaining at all. The witness makes an astute point. Logically, it would seem no negotiation could have taken place. And yet, the plan to break the man out of prison was definitely put into practice. So he must have been armed with something that gave him an angle to negotiate. It's gotta be the will. So Asagi-san agreed to confess to the crimes because he was assured he'd be broken out of prison later. I really don't think that Kazuma-sama's father would have engaged in such negotiations. That perhaps something compelled him to agree? What a terrible thing. Using the law to legitimize such underhanded dealings with a desperate man. Only to double-cross him in the end. It's quite the opposite of justice. I can't help feeling There's something about this apparent negotiation that doesn't quite add up. Something doesn't quite add up, Mr. Naruhodo? No, it doesn't. But I can't quite put my finger on what yet. Well, in that case, we must keep digging until we identify the problem. I'm gonna try it. We're doing good so far. It's this last one, right? And try the will. The Asagi papers.
Objection.
There we go. Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison. Genshin Asagi was taking an incredibly risky gamble. Very true. There was nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man would stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that. Which means that Mr. Asagi must have had a trump card. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon.
Havers, that fellow cannot possibly have had anything like that.
But you know that he did, Governor. That's right, you're the one who had the papers. You gave them to me. The Asagi papers, the name given to the last will and testament of Genshin Asagi.
Ah,
It turns out that Mr. Asagi was hiding his will in a cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil caught him with it one day.
You squealed, did ya, you wee rat? Did I not tell you to keep that a secret?
Alright, this is assault. Let me go. You can't touch me now.
Grrr!
We're gonna ignore that. When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convict cell. Did that happen in the last game where, like, Gregson was choking somebody out in the final case? I gotta remember that, because if I remember correctly, that was actually important. I think, like, what's his name? Gregson used that to pass on, I think it was that disc or whatever, or some kind of evidence onto whoever who was choking. I forget who. Did I read this? When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convict cell, Mr. Asagi pleaded with the warder. Alright then, but what's on that paper?
A lost will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A weapon?
That's right, and after the convict had been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it? Well, yes. All the prison warders searched through the belongings in his cell, but was it Kaiden who took it? That will was just nowhere to be found. As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asagi Papers. Governor Kaiden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find it at all costs, didn't you?
Eh?
Would I be right in saying that you knew? You knew that the so-called Asagi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow.
Jings, what the blazes are you blethering about? The will was found, right and proper.
By you?
In the fella cell where I said it would be.
But how can that be? We're in a cell. We all searched the place, from top to bottom. Ow! My hands!
Well, you did not do a proper job, eh, you pearly-wally galoot?
What was that gibberish? You can't criticize me now.
I showed it to you before, did I not? Young lawyer?
You did. Yes, you did. I have the document here. It's written in Japanese and reads, The Last Will and Testament of Genshin Asagi.
Which means everything is as it should be?
Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here. What? What inconsistency? Mr. Asagi described this document as the only weapon he had left. And yet, this will contains nothing of significance at all. Nothing that would have given the convict any leverage. Are you suggesting, my learned friend, that the lost will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years was a fake? Ooh, a forged one is actually a fake. Maybe Strongheart has the real one? As has clearly been demonstrated already. What went on at Barclay Prison was far from above board. Ooh. Where's the real one, and what does it say?
That last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system. This absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we have only the former Chief Warder's word. The man could quite easily be lying, or at the very least sorely mistaken.
So it could be both that Kaidan and Vigil are telling the truth then. Maybe the will was in there, Strongheart, or maybe Strongheart ordered somebody to grab the will, the real one. And then that's when Vigil went to, look, Vigil and all the other people, whatever, were looking for it. And then between then and when Kaidan himself went to check, maybe a Strongheart again, somebody he hired or whatever, one of his people, put the fake one in there. So maybe Kaidan actually did find it in the cell. What? No! I definitely heard him say that, I swear! Clearly, we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Asahi papers.
A waste of time! If the will was fake, where's the real document?
Objection!
I don't know. Mr. Vigil was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything, very nearly his own life. Indeed. And now you're going to do it again. You're ready to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself? It's clear that Barclay Prison is hiding something. It's clear that Jailbreak was masterminded by somebody in the prosecutor's office.
It's clear that some illicit negotiation took place. Is your lordship just going to gloss over these obvious reprehensible blah blah blah? What did you say?
Testify. We should hear more of the Chief Warder. Have him testify again.
The trial must go on. The man's voice must be heard. It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then. Let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw of the convict's last will and testament.
Yeah. Yes, sir. My lord. Let's see. Witness testimony. The Asahi papers. As the warder responsible for condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Asahi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail.
I only found out about the Asahi papers when a directive came telling me to impound them. The document was in the folds of the fella's robes that was left in the cell. A kimono, I think it's called.
Interesting. A kimono. In his kimono? That's a lie. Ow. We searched every inch of the man's cell. We looked through all his clothes. It can't be true.
Calling me a liar? Were you not satisfied with calling me a liar the once, eh? You wee waffinger?
I don't know what you said. There's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than the hold you like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do, is it? What? Am I drunk? Are you going to give me a good shake again? Or are you too scared? Do you tell him, Vigil? You have no power here.
Grrr!
Little and large. What a double act.
We complied with Asahi's will as far as was possible. All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer our country has ever seen.
And we were much obliged. I can confirm that all my father's belongings arrived safely.
Aye, and you cannot deny the handwriting is that of your old man, eh?
Yes, there's no mistaking that's my father's brushwork. Really?
And this last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? I think we can safely assume that the convict was merely prattling, knowing that his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please.
Slap those cheeks. You got this. Yes, my lord. Cross-examination. The Asahi papers. Okay, the one responsible. I attended to Mr. Oski and kept watch over his cell. Night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail. I only found out about the Oski papers when a directive came telling me to impound them. Okay, there's definitely a couple of points I want to examine. Let's start with this one. I want to know what he was doing with the will.
Hold it!
And he pleaded with you not to report him, didn't he? Yes, that's right.
And like the vampire you are, you denied telling me. A blatant breach of trust that was.
I could see that the man had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly. But according to what you told us 2 days ago, the convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever. Yes, you're quite right. Ah. So when exactly was the will penned?
That was before the man was remanded in Barclay, obviously. Yes, at the prosecutor's office under supervision of the relevant authorities. I personally instructed Oski to make a will for the benefit of his family in his homeland.
Right. In that case, why was it found in a cell?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if it was penned at the prosecutor's office. Good point. You would have expected that it would remain here there for safekeeping, surely.
Ah!
It's curious. How very curious. There doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict cell.
Ouch, well.
The defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor?
A present governor can I be expected to ken the inner workings of the prosecution's office?
So you got no answer, huh? In that case, Lord Strongheart, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter.
I'm unable to offer an explanation here now. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time. He's dead though, I killed him. I mean, what?
The fact that my father's will was discovered in a cell is clearly inconsistent with what was expected. I want to know why. Another inexplicable mystery, then. Well, the thing is about that will. Okay, let's talk about let's do these last two. And that directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak?
Aye, from the top level of the prosecutor's office.
What name was written on it?
I deny ken afore, and I deny ken now. All I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything in my power to find the document. The directive said it had to be somewhere inside the fella's cell.
Document? Was that the wording? Document, not will?
Aye, that's what it said.
Am I clutching at straws here? I just wonder if it was really Genshin Atsuki's last will and testament that the sender of that directive was after. Continue with your testimony then, witness. Interesting. The document. I don't think it would have to do with this. No, definitely I don't know why I clicked on that. I don't know, let's keep going.
Hold it!
And Mr. Oski's kimono.
Aye, the one he brought with him when he was locked up.
Yes, he was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand.
That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before his execution.
Indeed, he had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, that kimono, his sword. Why was his sword in there? His sword? Karama, the famous sword of the Asugi clan. It bears the soul of my family. I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget it being the soul of the clan, could the man have had a more obvious weapon? Have some respect, Ryunosuke. It's not a weapon, it's a member of the family. Respectful silence?
The warders carry firearms at all times, and the inmates have shackles around their ankles. He could not have hurt anybody with that thing.
Right. Still, he was allowed a sword but no writing materials? Yeah, that makes no sense.
I don't make the rules. He wrote that will before he came to stay with us at Barclay, you say? Dr. Mikatoba was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office.
A Suzui ink stone, black sumi ink, and some Hanshi rice paper, no doubt.
I was present when he wrote it. But I'm sorry to say, the letters just look like a squirming mess of jet black earthworms to me.
Oh, got something else to say?
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Again? Oh, a migraine. Mr. Vigil. Sir! It was Scarlet, sir. What? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt it out like that. Scarlet, wasn't that the fireworks dealer? Less swaying and more explaining would be helpful. Is there something about the testimony we just heard? Have you recalled something of importance? Something of importance? Possibly. Or possibly not. I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid. That's because he's leaning all over. My lord, the defense asks that Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or possibly not important detail.
Permission granted?
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Scarlet. As I remember it, the document was written in scarlet ink. But perhaps I'm mistaken. Scarlet ink. Okay, so that's what he meant. I mean... it's clear. Do we just present this? Because it's not written in scarlet ink, right? I mean, it's hard to say because every document we get is written with the same font and the same, you know, when we click on it. But even looking at the picture, it's clearly black. There was also something... Okay, never mind. Should we just present that? I'm gonna try it.
Objection.
Nope. Okay. That was my first fumble. Mabi. I mean, I thought that made sense. Let me try pressing him on it first. I didn't mean to do that, damn it. That testimony doesn't give much away. So this will really was penned by Kazuma-sama's father. I wonder what he could have possibly meant when he described it as a weapon. It's starting to sound very much like Mr. Atsuki actually had nothing. But the plan to break him out of jail went ahead, which means he must have had some bargaining power. He must have been hiding something. It's the only explanation that makes sense. It's starting to sound like Mr. Atsuki actually might have had something. Which is it, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm not sure, but I feel as though I'm on the brink of understanding all this. Let's listen to all the information again and see what more we can learn. We can't overlook even the smallest detail. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to try pressing him on that last point.
Hold it.
Scarlet, you say? Well, yes. I mean, I only caught sight of it for a brief moment, of course. But even by the dim light in the cell, I remember thinking that it was an unusual color. At the very least, I'm quite sure it wasn't black.
Witness? Is that really what you saw?
What? Sir? Is something wrong, Lord Strongheart? Or maybe, should I be looking for a document that is written in red? Maybe I have to go about it that way? I mean, you can't really see, at least based off the pictures. I'm just clicking on everyone. Was there any? I'm trying to think if there's anything we have that was noticeably written in red ink. That wouldn't make sense if it was Gregson's autopsy report. That's a paper. Huh, okay, nothing. Unless it's something we haven't gotten yet. Okay, back to it. Something Lord Strongheart?
No. Just have to use the bathroom. I apologize. Continue.
What do you make of that, Mr. Naruhodo? For Lord Strongheart to be so visibly shaken in that way.
Ouch, no, I have a. You can plainly see the written hair, and it's black as the Earl of Hell's waistcoat.
Well, yes, you're right. Mr. Vigil, I'd like to confirm one point with you. Did you actually see the content of the document that Mr. Oski was holding that night? Oh, well, no. I mean, there was no time. As soon as he noticed me there, he hid it behind his back. But it was definitely a will, was it? Yes, it was. That's what Mr. Oski told me.
The court need waste no further time on this matter. We have the will in question in our possession. There is nothing more to add.
A will written in scarlet ink. What did Mr. Vigil really see Cosmo's father holding, I wonder? If you have an inkling, Mr. Naruhodo, you must present it to the court at once. It's gotta be that. There's gotta be something... There's something I'm missing? It wouldn't have anything to do with that. A document that is written in red.
Hold it!
Let's keep going. So would that mean that you conversed with Mr. Asagi? Yes, certainly. Though there was precious little time before his execution was due. He was remarkably calm considering his days were very much numbered. In all honesty, he really didn't strike one as a man capable of mass murder. Yet he confessed in full to the crimes. I know. That's why I felt compelled to ask him one day. I can still recall his reply. I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life. Yes. But he was so tranquil and intelligent, it put me in mind of an Eastern holy man. And what about the will you saw him with? What can you tell us about that? Nothing. It was the beginning of all the drama. I remember it very well, yes. Okay. Okay, I think I pressed that, right? Yeah, I think we had to press this. It was the governor who ordered the search for the will, as I understand it. Is that right? Yes, and when I reported back that, we couldn't find it. He grabbed me by the cravat and yelled,
"It cannot have disappeared completely."
in my face.
Aye, well, it's due to the governor to keep everybody working as hard as they should.
I think the governor needs a wee taste of his own medicine, Mr. Naruhodo. Shall I give him a Suzudo takedown? The point is, it was clearly considered a very important document, wasn't it? But it proved impossible to find. That's right. Then, before I knew it, it was in the morning paper. That blood-curdling article. The executed mass murderer who'd risen from the dead. Oh, you mean... The article based on Mr. Drever's experience in Logate Cemetery? Yes, that was it. The day after I'd read that news, I was summoned to the governor's office. And that's when the awful accusation was made. We haven't brought that up in a while. That you'd aided Genshin Aski to escape from prison, resulting in your immediate dismissal. I'm afraid I really don't remember anything after that.
As the governor of the prison, I had no choice. I could not have done anything else.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So it's a document, it's a piece of paper. Wait, let me try something. Okay, just open it, please. What? I remember this was in here. I want to see... That's definitely not Scarlet, right? Oh, now that I think about it, that was just this. That was just the passport. I really don't know. Because like I keep saying, I don't see... I'm trying to look carefully. Nothing looks Scarlet. We're not, all the writing looks like black. I mean, this dismissal notice has red on it. So does this autopsy report, but that's Gregson, so I'm sure that has nothing to do with anything. Even this has a little red stamp on it. They all have some, like, red on it. Let me see something. Oh, recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring fingers of the right hand, but no document and corresponding ink was found. I remembered the ink thing. That's the only thing. I remembered talking about ink. And there we go, scarlet ink stain. So I guess, is this it? It's gotta be. Let's give it a shot.
Objection.
Scarlet colored writing is what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil. And I believe that's exactly what you did see. What? Havers again. You've no evidence to say that. Have a look at this report. That's my brother's autopsy report. Yes. And there's something in here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that scarlet-colored ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand. Yes, so it does. Scarlet ink? Coincidence? I think not. Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit. But I would hazard a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they? Your wit is not appreciated, sir. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have sullied his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately. But he didn't. What is your point, counsel? My point is this. Whatever Lord Clint Van Zykes was writing in that unusually colored ink, it must have been directly before his death. Right, because he had died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand. And somehow that same document got in, did he deliver it to, what's his face? To, Asagi? Like, did he write it, give it to him, and then leave? What? I remember something troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open. But Clint was, punctualist about such things. It seemed unusual. And no document penned in the color of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found. So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was the same? The same document that Lord Clint Van Zykes was writing moments before his death. Then it was... If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that, yes. Mr. Vigil. Sir? When you spotted Mr. Oski with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not? Alright then. But what's on that paper? A lost will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. So it wasn't a will at all? A lost will and testament? Ah! Unless it was Clint Van Zykes' will. If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asagi said. You really think? Mr. Vigil did indeed see the convict with a will, but it was Clint's will. But it wasn't that of Genshin Asagi. It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zykes. No. What? But why? So was Clint prepared to die? This is madness. My brother's lost will and testament. That would mean that he had chosen to die. That is what it would mean, yes. No, impossible. That is utterly out of the question. Lord Van Zykes. Clint was pursuing the professor. It consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigation before its conclusion. Never! He wouldn't rest until the job was done. Until the killer was caught. The idea that he would willingly accept his own death it's obscene.
Objection.
That's what the evidence points to. And yet, we can be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death. And that Genshin Asuki came to be in possession of that document. This is wild. So what could the will possibly have contained? Clearly something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact the daring jailbreak plot. Yes, there can be no question that the will contained information of the utmost secrecy. Information of the utmost secrecy? Ah! No, it couldn't be. I've heard more than enough. Pursuing this notion of a phantom when nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose.
Objection.
No, my lord. That's unacceptable. What did you say, counsel? I'll kill you. The last will and testament that Genshin Asuki had in his possession was that of Lord Clint Van Zykes. All the testimony and evidence presented to the court had logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion. But with no possible means of knowing the content of the document, there is no line of reasoning to pursue. A reason why Lord Clint Van Zykes, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. I'm sorry to do this to you guys. I'm not usually one to go for the cliffhanger angle, but this is a perfect spot to end it on. We're about to turn everything on its head. I really want to know what's happening next, but I'm going to have to end it here. This has been a long recording, and it's getting so good, though. So, I honestly am not sure what he's getting at, per se, yet. So we have to, because I'm pretty sure we don't have the document itself, but there's some secret that this pertains to. I'm just not sure exactly what, but we'll have to find out in the next episode, which may be the last one. Maybe one more. I have no idea how much is left, but it really seems like we're getting very close to the end. Anywho, thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the like button if you like this video or the series so far, as well as subscribe to the channel. That'll really help me out big time. Hit the notification bell so you know when more videos go up, and of course share the video and the channel with your friends, family, and loved ones. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me on this ride. We're so close to the end. I can feel it. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Take care, and bye-bye.